This is the last part of our class, part 3 of class number 3 tonight. Great attention. I know that we're going through, and after this it gets, things get really interesting now. I mean, they've been really interesting, but they're maybe more about what we know about the Greek culture, the Roman culture. These things are coming. Right now we're just going to talk really just about the people of Israel and what happened to them and where they came from, into this picture. We're going to talk about that. Okay, Jacob. We know that Jacob, and he had 12 sons. Jacob had 12 sons by 4 women. And that's regrettable, but it's the facts. And I don't make the stories up, but we're just telling them the stories. Okay, so Jacob had one son. His name was, we can just list the sons here. Reuben is the oldest. Reuben, and Leah was his mother. This was the surprise bride. Okay, the surprise bride. He was supposed to get Rachel, but he woke up the next morning and behold, it was Leah. And the name for Reuben, his name means sea. Sea. So these are interesting. Leah is maybe a person that's forgotten. She's not talked about so much in the script. She's not talked about by a lot of people. There's not a lot said about her in the scriptures. But what she does say, she says with the naming of her sons, Simeon was number 2 in the nation of Israel, also mothered by Leah, and his name is here. His name means, the base of his name means here. Now Levi, the thing is it's important for us to remember because this tribe, Levi, will be where Moses comes from. And Levi, the Levitical tribe of Israel, will be the priestly tribe. Aaron, Moses will be from this. This is also a son of Leah. And his name means joined or bring together. So joined. So that's what she says. God has joined me to my husband. I have been hated. My husband really didn't want me. See, God gave me a son. Answer to my prayer. Hear, Simeon. Hear Simeon's cry. God is listening to my prayer. Levi, God is joining me, drawing me closer to my husband. Okay, the fourth one, Judah. This is Leah's 4th son, and this means praise. So all of these things, all of these first 4 sons that Leah had, she gives them names that carry bigger things. They're not selfish names. They have great meaning here. So then there are Rachel is barren for a long season, and she gives one of her maids, which was a practice. She gave one of her maids, and she said, "Have children by her." So her name was Bilhah. And his name is Dan, and her name is Bilhah, and Dan means judge. Like Rachel is trying to figure out why she can't have children, the child that comes from her maid having relations with her husband, she calls him Judge, Dan, Judge. The next one, she's still struggling with this. The next son that comes from Bilhah is Naphtali, and this is Bilhah, and this is Wrestle. So we see that really the names of the sons of Leah so far have like a looking away from herself. We see that the names of Bilhah, these are Rachel, this is Rachel's maid. So this is really like a really dysfunctional family structure. Okay? You got a maid. Look, I can't have children. You go sleep with my husband, and I'll take care of your babies like they're my own. So, kind of very strange, but it, and we wonder why. It's just really a myth. Like evolution just makes no sense because we ain't getting any better. It's like we were dysfunctional then, and we're even more messed up now. So it's like, you really have to have a lot of faith in evolution because the human race is not getting any better. It's not getting any closer. Technologically, maybe, but when it comes to relationships, we're in the dumper. Let's just make it, okay? And it's been that way for a long time, obviously. Okay, Naphtali. Okay, so Leah decides, well, I have a maid too. And, in one of her selfish moments, you sleep with my husband. And I'm going to raise your children because I have 4 sons, but I want more. And it looks like Rachel's catching up. So, the competition that's going on in this household is like really amazing. So this is like so the son. This is the name of the son is Gad, and Zilpah. Zilpah is the maid that has this one, and this is called. This is I think this is one of the moments when Leah's feeling her oats. And she says, I got a troop of sons. And that's what Gad means, troop. You got 2 sons, I got an army because I got 5. That's I could just see that happening. It's like, it just happens. And, so she has Zilpah has another one, Asher. So this is Zilpah also. And Asher means happy. I'm so happy. I got 6 sons. Okay, so there is like an interesting story. These stories are all played out in Genesis 29 through 35. There's an interesting story where I think one of these boys brings some flowers to Leah. She's bringing flowers to his mother, and guess who wants the flowers? Rachel. Rachel wants the flowers. And Leah says, isn't it enough that my husband likes you better than me? You want my son's flowers anyway? And Rachel says, I'll give you a deal. If your son gives me your flowers, Jacob can come and sleep in your tent tonight. So I don't know the whole structure, but this is the women are running the place. Let's just say the women have got it all going on. It's like you got two queens, and you got 2 maids, and you got like the guy and 1 man, and he's a cheater. So he's got to keep his story straight. You know what a liar is, When you're a liar, it's a lot hard work. It's hard work to be a liar. That's what I want to say. It's hard work to be a liar because, you got to make sure if you put footprints in the snow, you got to make sure you go through the same tracks again and again, or it looks like there's, you got to cover your tracks all the time if you're a liar. And so Jacob's all messed up. So, but anyway, what happens when Leah meets Jacob? She goes, I've bought you for tonight. And so Jacob, okay. And God hears Leah again. And, God gives her another son, Issachar. Issachar is this son, and this is from Leah. Also, this is another son from her. I can't. What is this? It's Forward. It's his name, Forward. So it's that's still the thing, that name, Forward. Upward, so move forward, and we'll keep moving. And then she has another son, Zebulon. This will be 6 sons that she has physically given birth to, and this is Leah, and this means dwelling. So we have 10 right now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the 10. So Leah stopped giving birth at that point, and then finally, so then we have 2 for Rachel finally gives birth. I said this last week. Rachel gave birth to Joseph, and his name means, really, if you boil it down to it, I want another one. One is not enough for me. So another shall come, I guess, is the technical nice way to put it. Here you go. Oops, what did I do there? Okay. We'll get it back. Another shall come. She wants another one. She's not happy with just the one. And then the final one, whoops. We're having a little trouble with the stylus here, so we'll get that back there. The last one is we'll start a new page in a second. The last one is Benjamin, son of my right hand. But she dies. This is Rachel's last moment on earth, is giving birth to Benjamin. And she calls him son of my sorrow, Ben-Oni. But no, Jacob says that not will be his name. It means son of my right hand. So these form the 12 tribes of Israel. Actually, when they get to naming it, Joseph here, because of what will go on in his life, he'll get 2 portions in Israel, Manasseh and Ephraim. These are 2 sons of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim. They are born to him, to the daughter of a heathen priest in Egypt. These 2 are doing them, and they will each become a tribe in Israel. And then what will happen is the Levites will not have territory. Levi will become the tribe of priests, and they will not have a place in the land of Canaan when they will not have a land area in that. So we have 12 sons of Jacob. That's 12. So your 12 tribes are formed from those 12 sons of Jacob. So let me go to this. This is you see this land of Goshen that we talked about, this very nice Nile Delta, this area over here. This On is the priestly city. That's where Joseph's father-in-law is from. Okay, so Israel came down here. They lived here. They explode into they multiply like crazy. We begin in the book of Exodus at the beginning, chapter 1 in our Bible, and it says that it makes the very definitive statement. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and the land was filled with them. Okay, so we know the story. Joseph went down there. His administrative mind, the Spirit of God in him, enabled him to interpret the dream that God had given Pharaoh about the coming times of famine and want. And Joseph's administrative mind planned, centralized planning, organized the food system so that there was food for the famine during the years of plenty. 7 years of plenty were followed by 7 years of extreme famine throughout the world. And Joseph was sent ahead, sold into slavery by his brothers and sent ahead to save his nation alive. And there arose a king that knew not Joseph. So the children of Israel were fruitful, increased abundantly, multiplied, waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them, it says in Exodus 1:7. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who knew not Joseph. And he began to deal craftily with the people of Israel. So we know that story. We've taught that. They were enslaved. They were in bondage. They were brickmakers. They were the servants for the Egyptian culture and the Egyptian people. And they were treated miserably, and their cry came up to God, okay? They made their lives, verse 14, or 13 of chapter 1, the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor and made their lives bitter and hard with bondage in all manner of service in the field, and all their service they made them serve with rigor. Now, the thing was, the problems, the harder they worked the Israelites, the more babies they had. So Israel just kept having more and more children, and they waxed very mightily, it says, by the end of this chapter, the end of the first chapter. Now, chapter 2, verse 23, it's important that we remember this verse. It came to pass in the process of time, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of their bondage. And they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. God heard their groaning. God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he looked down upon the children of Israel, and God had respect to them. That's an important verse to understand, because later when Israel is traveling in the wilderness, they will say to Moses, "Why did you lead us out?" And the answer is, Moses was sent to lead you out because you asked to be led out. You cried to God, God answered your prayer, and now you're out of Egypt, So that's the kind of interesting thing about bondage. Bondage can be a very safe place if you don't want to take responsibility. It's a very safe place. Freedom can be a very dangerous place if you don't want to take responsibility. When you have liberty, there's responsibility, accountability, all those really big words. Ability. What? You mean I have to do something? Yeah, well, who's going to feed me? I made bricks, and I like the old days, I made bricks and you gave me a fish, But I didn't have to think a whole lot. And, oh, yeah, they used to beat me. And, oh, yeah, they used to kill my children every now and then. But I had a fish every day. And garlics and onions and those kind of things. Okay, so, so the civilization of Egypt is judged harshly. Okay, we know that there is a series of plagues that go on, 10 plagues that go on in Israel, and we talk about this in the New Testament survey class. And but there's 10 plagues that judge Egypt's gods. Moses is born during this period of time. This cry is heard, and Moses is born to a Levite, to a son of Levi. And rather than throw the baby into the river, which is where all male babies were supposed to go, they were supposed to be thrown into the river to the crocodiles. He was put in the river according to the law that was passed by Pharaoh. He was put into the river. It's just that he was put into a basket covered with pitch, which is interesting. That's what the Ark of Noah was covered with. The Ark of Noah was covered with pitch to keep it floating, and the basket of Moses was covered with pitch and set into the river. And we know that Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and took her to the palace, and she took him to the palace, and he grew up as Pharaoh's son, really, in essence, as Pharaoh's grandson, and learning to read and to write, which is important because when the slaves of Israel come out, they'll have one guy who knows how to read and write, and that's Moses. What's going on? They are being treated rudely, no education, nothing's going on, but they're making babies, and they're freaking the Egyptians out. Like if another country comes to invade us, they're going to turn on us. Maybe you should treat them a little better. That might have been a better thing, but they forgot how Joseph saved the civilization, and that's primarily the reason for the harsh judgment on them. We know that God. It says that God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. And that's really English. That's really the only way that the English can sort of portray the thing that happened. But really what happened was God allowed Pharaoh to reap what he had sown. Okay? Pharaoh's heart was the decision to harden the heart was Pharaoh's decision. Okay, Pharaoh listened and he heard and he forgot about Joseph, and what he did was his bitterness was the result of his own decisions. He became a hard, bitter man. He was not going to give up his power. It was not like God turned him cold. No, the decisions that Pharaoh made, and as they related to the people of God, they turned him cold. They turned his cold. So they were let out. This is the route. They were let out. We know the story through the Red Sea, and they came up, and they're supposed to wind up here in this territory God gave them. And they, we know that they had some trouble. They had some trouble thinking about what they were now. They were slaves here, but now they are not. Now they are something different. They have a leader, but they're not so sure they like their leader, And there are a number of rebellions that go on in the nation of Israel. I'm paraphrasing the history for you. So, I'm sorry, you can read all of it if you read your Bible back to front, front to back. You can read it back to front, too, if you want. I might try that next time. Revelation to Genesis. Anyone ever done that? Hey, I just got a new idea. Because I'm just about ready to finish the Bible again, and it's and I just want to start, I'm just trying to think. I like to read. I like to make it interesting for myself. So maybe I'll read back to front this time. Just isn't that the way they read the other book, Anyway, sorry. Anyway, sorry. I just, I'll just go back and see what happens. No, I don't know if I'll do that. Oh, actually, so anyway. Okay. It's getting late. We're running. Okay, so this is Israel's, comes to this place. This territory is going to be theirs. This is going to be theirs. And the thing is that God promised them a lot of territory. He promised them really, let's see if we can, this is really more of a, but God really promised them this larger piece of territory up into what is now Lebanon, over all the way to the Euphrates River and down here. God promised that this would be their territory. They didn't really take it all. They never have taken it all. They have never taken it all. At a certain point in the future, they will have as much as God told them they were supposed to have, and it'll be divided up into 12 equal parts, actually 13 equal parts, 12 for the tribes, and then 1 for the priest area that'll run really across right here. It's really, you can see interesting maps about it. It's just one tribe after another gets their territory, and then there's this strip of land that goes, little strip of land, almost like a belt, that goes right across the middle, and it encompasses Jerusalem and the new temple, the new Millennium Temple, and all that goes right to a living river flows out of it into the Red Sea, and then another part of a river flows out to the Mediterranean Sea. It's really kind of cool to look at that stuff, and that's future, and this is history. So, but this is where Israel is supposed to wind up, and this is the thing. What is it about the people of God? We got to set the stage for the coming of Jesus Christ. That's what these early classes are to do. And Israel is called out of Egypt, led through the Red Sea, led through the wilderness by Moses, and they are led into the promised land by Joshua. And they begin to take it. If you read the book of Joshua, you'll see territories. You'll see kings killed. You'll see territories conquered, slowly but surely, but not completely. Territories, bits and pieces of this territory is conquered. I'm sorry, I'm messing that up. Right. Let's go back. Bits and pieces of this territory are conquered by Israel, chunks of it. And God gave them a commandment to the groups of people that are there. There are groups of people there that have been practicing things that have come before the Lord, like practicing things like infant sacrifices and things that require the exercise of human government according to the purpose of God. Okay? Now, we read the Bible and we see God gives Israel a command. You are to destroy annihilate the inhabitants of Canaan. It's that's what are you talking about, God? And we can listen to some of the things that we hear in the news and get a little sentimental and say, well, really, if you read the Bible, these people have a right to fear Israel because God told them to exterminate large groups of people. Okay, we have to remember that God instituted human government at the flood. And that's people who shed blood, who profane life. The sanctity of life is not in them. And that's what it is. The sanctity of life was not in these groups of people and in their worship of the deities that they served. Okay, so the gods and goddesses that were being served by the people who were living there were bloodthirsty gods and goddesses. And so things that had never been intended to be done from the garden were being done by these people. And God is saying, the essence of human government is that if a man takes a life, the man must pay for his life. What has happened here in Canaan is so much innocent blood has been shed in terms of human sacrifice and cruelty to prisoners of war that I am going to use you, Israel, to judge this group of people. To judge this group of people, you are to wipe them out. If you do not wipe them out, they will become a snare to you. Their gods will resurrect themselves. You will find those gods to be very attractive. You will start to worship their gods, and you will start to practice the sensuality that's connected to their worship. And that sensuality will lead to the dark side of the tree. The good side of the tree is, it's a sensual, feel-good kind of religion. And then you get to the dark side of the tree, and there's a whole nother kind of human sacrifice, cutting yourself. All of these things are really sort of rooted. It's really amazing. A lot of the things that God wanted to get rid of by ridding this area of the world of these people are lingering with us in today's society. Certain little things that don't have a seeming religious connotation have religious connotation, have a connection to these people. The Hivites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and these other couple groups of people that God said you are not to even consider it. It's like you are not to show kindness. Their time is up. The blood that they have shed in the land requires that they be slain. And this is the biblical principle. It goes back to the days of Cain and Abel. God said that Abel's blood speaks to me from the earth. And God is saying, you must do as I say. If you do not do as I say, trouble will come to your nation. So you can read the first chapter of Judges. If you read the first chapter of Judges, it's really, if you wonder why Israel has had so many troubles over the course of their history, we can find the roots of this trouble in this, in these things. They were told to, let's see, where are we? First chapter of Judges. Here it is. Okay. Right now, the thing is that we look at all the tribes. They have been given, the tribes of Israel have been given their territory, and they've been told to go and take their territory. Let's see where it begins here. Okay. It starts with Judah. Judah, verse 19, let's see. And the Lord was with Judah, and he drave out, or that's the King James, drave out. He drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but he could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. So they could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley. That's the beginning of the trouble. You go through the tribes. The children of Benjamin, verse 21, did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwelled with them. Benjamin unto this day. Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Beth-shean and her towns. And then it came here, it says, neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelled in Gezer. The Amorites, this is another, they were allowed, they forced the children of Dan into the mountain. The Ammonites would dwell in the mountain, and they were not driven out. So all of these, this is the source of their problem. Israel did not go in and fulfill their purpose according to God, which was to exercise human government in this extermination plan of this group of people who had become so wedded to the demonic issue and the demonic sacrifices that they were offering. And God knew it would happen. It said they forsook the Lord. In chapter 2 and verse 13, it says, Israel provoked the Lord to anger in verse 12. And it said they forsook the Lord and served Baal and the Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth was like a female Phoenician fertility goddess. Baal was a bull god, and Ashtaroth was a female fertility goddess. So what happened is that Israel was brought to this place to take out the nations and to take out all of their idols, and they didn't do it. And what wound up happening is these people were captivated by the idols and the sensuality that was with them. So these things became a snare to them. They began to be idolatrous people. And at the end of the chapter of Judges, there's a tragic verse that says, in those days there was no king in Israel. This is Judges 21:25. In those days there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So they demanded a king. Israel's the fast forward version of Israel's history is that they saw that they needed a king. They demanded a king. They got a king, King Saul. He was not such a good king, but God had a great king to come after him, who was David, and he established the nation and gave a testimony of who God was. And David was a worshiper and a psalmist and a lover of God, and he walked before God. And he was not a perfect man, we know that. He had a sin with Bathsheba, we know that. That's all there for us to read about. But we see that he brought Israel to an understanding that it could speak with God and hear from him. And he was not an idolater. He did not give himself to idols. He gave himself to the wrong woman at the wrong time, and it hurt him and his family. But he did not give himself to anything above the worship of God. And whenever he was in trouble, he ran to God and said, have mercy on me, O Lord. And God honored that for him. 40 years he reigned. 40 years. After that, Solomon came. And that's when, again, Solomon started well. First 7, 8 years, he built a great, I think we have a picture here, yeah, built a great temple to the Lord. David wanted to build this temple, but Solomon built this great temple to the Lord to be worshipped. Lots of stonework, lots of gold, lots of brass, lots of silver. It's all there. And God honored that, and there was a great prayer, and the presence of the Lord filled Israel. This is the glorious moment in Israel's history. This is the high point in Israel's history. Okay? They are never richer. They are never more powerful. Really, they are never more spiritual than at this moment when this temple is formed. They believe God. They sing his songs. They are ready, and they are being, and the testimony, they have a world mission. People are coming from all over the world to listen to the wisdom of Solomon, and all parts of the world are understanding that the God of Israel is the God of heaven, and there's no God on earth like him. They don't make him like a fish. They don't make him like a horse. They don't make him like the sun. You can't see the God who is in Israel, but you know he's there. because the power is in the person that is on the throne. The wisdom, it says that when the Queen of Sheba came to Solomon, he told her the questions before she asked them. He told her all her questions. What is it that you want to know? I know what you want to know. And that was the wisdom of holy God that was at work in Solomon. Just a problem. Solomon was also very naturally minded, and he made a lot of affiliations. He had 1,000 women in his life, 700 wives. That's kind of strange. We already saw the complication that happened with 4. So, a lot of these were political marriages. So I'm not so sure they were even consummated in the physical sense. So to say that he had relations with 1,000 women probably is not really accurate. Political wives were given I'm going to give you this daughter of mine as a wife because I don't want you to attack me later on. Because I know that you'd have a hard time attacking your grandchildren, that kind of thing. And it was that was just sort of the way of the world. You married somebody in one of your, neighbors' courts, and, that sort of happened, After Solomon died, and we'll finish here, after Solomon died, there was a great split. Go back here, there was a great split. The country was split in half. This was Samaria. And this was, I hear the music, this was Samaria up here. This became the northern kingdom, and this became the southern kingdom. And that began a progression of kings that went on through. And there's 2 books in the Bible, we'll finish with this. There's 2 books in the Bible that explain the progression of kings, and it's 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles. Now, it's very interesting. 1st and 2nd Kings gives you all the kings, both in Israel, the northern kingdom, and in Judah, the southern kingdom. And it talks about all of their failures and all of their troubles and all of their difficulty. These books were written by prophets. They were supposed to tell the truth, and they told the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And they gave it to you without any kind of sugar on it. But the Chronicles, they're different. The Chronicles are written by the priests, and the priests dealt with the blood. And when things go under the blood, the history is washed away. You can read about Bathsheba in the Kings, but you won't read about Bathsheba in the Chronicles. You can read about Solomon's troubles in the Kings, but you won't read about Solomon's troubles in the Chronicles. And that's 2 things. And this is we are prophets and we are priests as people of God. We go out and we speak the truth, and we really tell people like it is. Why is that sinful? Because the Bible says it's sinful. I will tell you the truth. I will speak the truth to you. I am a prophet. I got to tell you the truth. But if you come to the sacrifice of Christ, I understand something as a priest about the blood, and the blood covers your sin. And so you have 2 identities, and they both tell the same story, but they tell it from the inside the temple and one from the outside of the temple. From the inside of the temple, the blood covers all unrighteousness. And so the priests wrote chronicles talking about the opportunity and the potential and the purpose of God, and never losing sight of that. The prophets told about the purpose and the potential that can corrupt a person if he gets attached to the world and comes in contact with the world system. So we need both. We need to tell the truth and the whole truth. But once people come under the blood, some of that truth is buried in the deepest, deepest sea. And we ain't allowed to look at it anymore. And that's a great thing for us to understand. That once we come through the door of the temple and we put ourselves under the blood, and once Israel comes through that door of the temple once and for all in its future, everything will be under the blood and Jesus will be their king. All right? So, Lord, we just thank you for your loving kindness and your joy tonight. Thank you for this class and this truth. Help us to explore and delve deeper into your truth and the reality of who you are, and to see you in all things. In your name, amen. Okay, you are dismissed. Thank you for your attention. We'll see you next week.